Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked out of a senior living tour thinking, that actually didn't feel that bad? Maybe this is the one. The lobby was beautiful, the staff was smiling, lunch smelled great, residents looked happy. And yet, something felt off, but you couldn't quite name it. Here's what I want families to understand. Senior living tours are designed to show you the best possible version of daily life, not the full reality your parent will experience 6 months or a year from now. That doesn't mean communities are lying, but there are things they don't tell you on tour day unless you know how to read between the lines. Today, I'm going to walk you through what families often miss on senior living tours, the unspoken signals hiding in plain sight, and how to ask better questions so you don't make a decision you'll regret later. Hi, I'm Dale Corpus, a Senior Transition Specialist and Seniors Real Estate Expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm also part of the sandwich generation, balancing my own life while helping families navigate some of the most emotional and complex decisions they'll ever make. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we talk about what families wish they knew sooner, not just what's on the brochure. Let's dive in. Senior living tours are not neutral experiences. They are carefully timed, carefully staffed, and carefully choreographed. Most tours happen mid-morning or early afternoon when staffing is strongest, when residents are most alert, and when activities are scheduled. What you're seeing is the highlight reel. That's not wrong, but it's incomplete. Families often assume if it looks calm today, it must always be like this. That assumption gets families in trouble. Here are a few realities you don't see on tour day. Overnight staffing levels, weekend coverage, response times during peak hours, how staff handle behavioral challenges, and how care changes after move-in. I've worked with families across Contra Costa, Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo counties who toured places that felt perfect until their parent needed more help. Suddenly, call buttons took longer, care felt rushed, and communication changed. The community didn't change, the lens did. Let's talk about the dining room. On tour day, meals are plated beautifully, staff are attentive, residents are social. What families don't ask, is this menu available every day? What happens if my parent needs help eating? How are dietary needs handled long term? I've had sandwich generation adult children in San Jose tell me the food looked amazing, but my mom barely eats now. Dining is one of the first places quality quietly declines, especially when care needs increase. Let's segue into staffing. Most families ask, how many staff are here? Better questions are, how long have they been here? What's turnover like? Who covers when someone calls out? And what does nighttime staffing look like? I once heard a story from a family who didn't realize that at night, 2 caregivers were responsible for over 40 residents. That information was never hidden. It just wasn't volunteered. Silence isn't deception, but it isn't transparency either. Moving on to activities. Communities love to show activity calendars. Communities love to show activity calendars. But here's what matters more. Are residents actually attending? Are activities adapted for cognitive decline? Are they meaningful or just scheduled? I've toured communities where activities looked great on paper, but residents sat disengaged, and others where activities were simple, but residents felt connected. Ask yourself, does this match my parent? Not my expectations. Now, here's a big one. What happens when care needs change? This is where families get blindsided. Ask directly, what happens if my parent needs more care? Will they have to move again? How often are care levels reassessed? And how are increases communicated? I was connected to a family in Alameda County whose mom had to move twice in 18 months. Not because they chose poorly, but because they didn't ask how flexible care truly was. Second moves are traumatic. Avoiding them requires asking uncomfortable questions early. So, how do you read between the lines on tour day? Here are subtle signs families overlook. Staff avoiding eye contact with each other. Residents wandering without engagement. Delays in small requests during the tour. And vague answers to specific questions. Pay attention to how questions are answered, not just what is said. Confidence sounds different than deflection. Here's how I tell families to tour. 1, visit twice, different days, different times. 2, watch staff interactions when they think no one's looking. 3, ask scenario-based questions. 4, bring notes. Emotions fade, details don't. And 5, involve a neutral professional if possible. Tour day should be about information, not reassurance. Families often rush when choosing a senior community for their parent because a fall happened, a hospitalization occurred, and care at home collapsed. Urgency shuts down critical thinking. The families who feel most confident later are the ones who toured early, even before they were ready. Information reduces panic. So today we covered why senior living tours show a highlight reel, what families don't see on tour day, the questions that matter more than appearances, how to read between the lines, and how to tour strategically instead of emotionally. A good tour doesn't make you feel relieved. It makes you feel informed. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If your family is touring senior living communities or feeling unsure about what you are being told, I can help. Schedule a free consultation and learn more about my services at www.simplifyseniortransitions.com. You could book a free 15-minute consultation, and you could also watch and listen to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If this episode helped clarify things, please consider leaving a review. It helps more families find the show when they need it the most. I'm Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.